What's good, Shellitronnn here. You can call me Shells, and I'm back at again with a brand new video. And I'm gonna keep it a Bowberry biscuit. This game between the Panthers and the Bucks this Sunday should be a really interesting one. There are a lot of different storylines going behind this game. Obviously, for the Panthers, it's going to be our first game in our division. But for the Bucks, it's their second game in the division. Both teams coming to this game 0-1. But all 0-1 records are not created equally. For the Panthers, we lost to the Raiders. And for the Bucks, they lost to the Saints. And there's a little bit of a power imbalance between the Raiders and the Saints. So we understand how that goes. And there are a lot of things to get into talking about this game. But first off, I want to speak on the injury report. I think that might be one of the most interesting dynamics of this game before you even talk about what's going to go on the field. For the Panthers, we're looking at Daly still being out. He has not practiced on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. That ankle injury is still hurting him, so we probably won't see him again. It's probably going to be another week for Mike Schofield. We saw KK did not practice on Wednesday, and he was only limited in practice today on Thursday. So we're not exactly sure how good to go he is. He may play. We'll have more updates on that as it comes along. I'll do a live stream on Friday, maybe even Saturday, to talk about more things as we get even more news. Dante Jackson, he had an ankle injury during that game in the first quarter against the Raiders. Turns out he's been perfectly fine. He was a full participant in practice the whole time. YGM didn't see him play too many times. I think he had 16 snaps of the 66 total defensive snaps from the game. He is now in concussion protocol. We don't know if he's going to be playing at all. So we're probably going to see a lot more of Stephen Weatherly. For the Bucks, it's a little bit more interesting. Both of their big two wide receivers have had some injuries. I'm talking about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those are the two players I am scared of most on this Bucks roster. We've seen them do some things to some other teams. We no longer have James Bradbury, so I'm not sure if there's anyone who can really shut down Mike Evans except for his hamstring. He has been limited in practice the last 2 days, and Chris Godwin is in concussion protocol. He has not practiced Wednesday or Thursday. I never wish injury on anyone, but since he's already injured, I wish him the speediest of recoveries, as long as speedy is defined as at any point from next Monday on. I hope he is 100% healthy. Monday morning, 9 a.m., he is good to go. Your first priority should be your health, my brother. You'll have more opportunities to play against other teams. But this Sunday, just kick back a little bit, make sure you're healthy. Other than that, I'm not seeing very many other guys on their injury report that I really care about. I guess you could really put Rob Gronkowski on that, and he'd just be old. So maybe you could put Tom Brady. They both are pretty damn old. I ain't gonna lie to you. Well, Gronk's has broken down and been out of football for a year. So look, the point is, there are some very big injuries on this Buccaneers team, but I'm not too sure those injuries are going to 100% outweigh what we're looking at with their strengths. Maybe Mike Evans does end up playing. We're not quite sure yet. But what I'm worried about the most on this Bucs team is not a single player. What I'm worried about most is Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians, if you don't know, he publicly and pretty strongly called out Tom Brady for his mistakes. Tom did not look good against the Saints. If you ain't watched the game, look, Tom looked horrible. Tom kind of reminded me of Kyle Allen at points in that Saints game. But the Saints defense is just a little tiny bit different than the Panthers defense from, let's be real, every single level, from the D-line to the linebacker core to the defensive backs. The Saints have us beat pretty much everywhere. The Saints are a better defensive team than the Panthers. Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say. So, one, you have a motivated Tom Brady. And I know he's 58 and a half years old, but when he gets motivated and gets angry, you might see him go off. He can go off for a game or two against some inferior defensive talent. And we saw just last Sunday against the Raiders, this Panthers defense at this moment, being young and, new coaching staff and all this kind of stuff, looks like a inferior defensive unit. If the roles were reversed, I would feel really good about this game because this is the perfect get your confidence back game. Ronald Jones had 17 carries for 66 yards. Not the best game. And Leonard Fournette only had 5 yards on 5 carries against the Saints as well. We probably won't see a repeat performance out of those two against our run D. There is need to improve. We saw a couple times where even if the interior of the D-line held up, there was times where the edge guys were not setting the edge. They were just running to the backfield. And we saw sometimes Josh Jacobs would find there was nothing in the inside and then bounce it outside because our edge guy, specifically YGM, was too far deep in the backfield and there was no edge set. We've seen that problem happen so many times on that specific side of the field, not just last week versus the Raiders, not just last year, but for 2 years. I've been saying it on this channel for literally 2 years. Runs to the right, specifically tosses to the right, have been a problem for this team for a long time because we do not set the edge. That's partially because of over-aggressive defensive ends. It's also because we don't have defensive backs who really set the edge very well either. Sometimes we have DBs who are scared to tackle, and I'm going to get to that topic in just a minute. Don't you worry. You know what's coming too. So we have to understand that these guys will probably have a little bit better games against the Panthers this upcoming week. Chris Godwin is probably going to be out. I'm not worried about that, honestly. Mike Evans is still a monster. And there was someone who kept coming to my videos. I think it was like 3 or 4 different videos he commented. And he was replying to a bunch of different comments saying, spread the word. The way you beat the Buccaneers is by press coverage. You have to press them. Mike Evans is not comfortable in the press game. If you do that, I'm like, look, brother. First of all, I'm the last one you need to tell that to because for the last couple of years, I was one of the few people saying how good James Bradbury was, how valuable his skill set was to the team, and specifically stating how many times he shut down the big three in the NFC South. But even ignoring that, it's one thing to know what to do. It's a whole different thing to have the personnel in place who can actually do it. Who on our team do you think is going to press cover Mike Evans consistently and stay up with them if he does get a little stronger and get past them? Even though Rasul Douglas is the best corner on our team right now, he's not really a press coverage cornerback. He does not do well in those situations. I would not have him playing the press against Mike Evans. Troy Pride was actually a pretty decent press corner at Notre Dame, but every single analyst, every single person doing draft content, everyone talking about his game and breaking it down. And even when I was watching some of his games, I didn't watch a lot of the games at Notre Dame. I watched maybe 1 or 2. The thing about Troy Pride, and I noticed this in the Raiders game as well, he's a pretty strong guy, but his game strength is just way lower than what you expect. He does get moved at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack. I don't think he's NFL strong yet. And even though he did look pretty all right at Notre Dame in press coverage, at the NFL level, I don't think it's just the right move for him, especially against Mike Evans. Mike Evans will probably bully Troy Pride. And can we talk about Dante Jackson? Do you want Dante playing press coverage? I don't think so. So we probably can't do that strategy against the Bucs in this game. It's not going to work. Look, the pass game is probably going to be a tough one for us because even if you do look pretty good against the receivers, which is going to be very hard to do, you have to worry about O.J. Howard and Gronk. Gronk did not have a very good game against the Saints, to say the least, but a big, strong tight end against our defense right now might be able to do a couple things. Darren Waller, he did not get targeted enough to actually hurt us that bad, but if he was targeted more, he could have done a lot more damage. I think Gronk and O.J. Howard could both be a pretty big factor against us. I'm kind of worried if Tom Brady really does want to highlight the tight ends in this game, it could be really, really tough, and they could extend these drives, make them longer, and keep our defense on the field. But I don't want to just focus on the Bucs offense and our defense. I think we understand our defense is our weaker link, and the Bucs offense has some really good weapons. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully Chris Godwin does not play. If Chris Godwin is good to go on Sunday and they have both Chris and Mike and their tight ends and their running backs look a little bit better, you got to score, all right? And the big thing about our offense is that it is built to score. Now, starting with Teddy Bridgewater, I think there needs to be a little bit more chemistry, timing, and getting used to the way these guys run routes. That comes with more practice and time and experience in this offense. I'm not worried about Teddy Bridgewater. My biggest question is, can our offensive line continue to protect Teddy Bridgewater? We looked pretty all right versus the Raiders. Only 1 sack. I think our O-lineman got some pretty bad grades from PFF, but from what I saw, we looked pretty solid consistently, at least a lot better than last year. Look, at this point, what I wish for in a lot of different things for this Panthers team is just improvement upon the past. And it is very, very easy to improve upon what we did last year on the O-line. It's only been 1 game so far, but For that one game, it looked really good. I don't want to talk about guys like Levante David, guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., who I thought we might have had a chance at looking at. He looked real good, okay? Antoine Winfield Jr. looked real good, but we have to get past, guys like Jackrabbit. JPP only has 2.5 fingers. That man, he can do work when he wants to. And it's going to be a toughie because I didn't even mention guys like Ndamukong Suh. I haven't even mentioned guys like Shaq Barrett. Now, we saw what Shaq Barrett did against us last year. So we understand there's things you have to worry about with this Bucs defense. And I ain't gonna front, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a game to limit test Joe Brady's offense. Okay? Because I'm gonna give you a little spoiler. I usually say this for the last part of the video, but we lose this game. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not here to, be a nice guy and say, Panthers win every single game this season 16-0 or 15-1 starting now. Look, let's be real. This is a game where we can really see just how good Joe Brady's offense looks. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. I want to focus on Curtis Samuel real quick. I want to see Curtis Samuel used in a lot more creative ways than just passing it to him. I know Joe Brady said that we want to use, or I think it was Matt Rule. He said we want to use more Mike Davis, get him to the scheme a little bit more. That's cool with me, as long as you also use Curtis Samuel in a lot more creative ways than run this comeback route. Run this slant real quick. Okay, cool. Thanks, Curtis. Next. Robbie Anderson really showed out against the Raiders. He was really motivated by that bear that was in the stands out there. Hey, as long as that bear keep dancing out there, I'm sure Robbie Anderson will have more and more very solid games for us. But I don't see these guys getting 9, 8, and 8 targets again, all respectively, all being in the same general area of number of targets. There are more guys on this team. I think that Seth Roberts could get more looks. I think that maybe our tight ends get looked at. This Bucs defense is built just a little bit differently than that Raiders defense we played on Sunday. You may have to rely more on those safety valves, those guys that are like your tight ends, your running backs. And speaking of running backs, it shouldn't take me this long to get to C-Mac, but please do not ignore C-Mac in the first half. I know you were looking at all the other things you have on your offense, but the scheme does not work unless you establish C-Mac. And even if you aren't necessarily playing to win exactly, at least play to make sure you can highlight what these other guys' skills are. Make it a tough one, okay? Test these guys out. See exactly what Teddy can do when you give him 30-plus pass attempts. See what C-Mac can do in different things. Test out Curtis Samuel. I'm going to keep saying it. See what Ian Thomas can do. Forget trying to win, honestly. Just try to look at exactly what the ceiling of your offense can be, because you're probably going to get the ball a lot because the Bucs are probably going to score on us a lot. We're going to be receiving a lot of kicks. We're going to see what Pharoh Cooper can do and kick returns and whatnot because, like I said, after the Bucs score, they got to kick the ball to us. So Pharoh Cooper get a good workout and just look at what the offense could really be against a lot better of a defense. Really test the limits of this offense. I really want to see what these dudes can do against better talent. That's all I really hope for. This game is probably going to be ugly. It probably is going to be 17-38. I'm talking about Remy boys. Baby, won't you come my way? That's what's going to happen to us. Probably very consistently, but I want to see a little bit of progression on the offense. Just a little bit. And if the defense can just play with a little bit more fundamentals, I'm cool with all that. That's how I feel about it. That's my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts? Score predictions, stat predictions. Who do you think shines in this games on the Bucs and the Panthers? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And you already know what to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Being told y'all I been the man. Being told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.